Hello everyone. So in a previous session, we learned how we able to handle errors during API calls. Okay. Now today we are going to deal with the concept of React routes. So what exactly the React route, how we are going to implement it in our application, and how it is beneficial. So everyone aware about that React is supporting single page application. So it doesn't have a different pages. Okay, whenever we are clicking some uh, link, it get open, it get load that particular component in a same page, right? So router is a very good facility which we are able to see today. So basically, it's a kind of a external library, React Router, and React Router DOM is also there. Okay. So in this, what we are going to do, we are going to link particular components. Okay, and that linking we will contain in a one component. Okay. So there is a one component which maintains all the linkings to the related components. So it means here, if you can see that if we put slash on the URL, it will go to the layout and it will load this particular header footer with any kind of a outlet over here. So outlet may be the home, outlet may be the contact, outlet may be about. And all the links, all the related URLs for these particular components are already maintained in a main.jx. You can create a separate file your wish. Okay, but in our today's example, we have maintained all the things itself in a main.js. If you want more modularity, you can go ahead with a separate routing file. You can import it. Okay. So in short, React Router is kind of a library or facility which maintains the linking, how to call particular component. Okay. So by using this particular image, you can see that in a React app, there is a React router. Router tells us, okay, if you are putting something URL and slash, then you will visit the layout page. So layout contain what? It contain header and footer. Now there is a one more component in a layout. It called as a which is in between header and footer. So consider this is our header, this is our footer, and in between header and footer, we are loading that particular outlet component. So outlet may be home, maybe contact us, maybe the about component, maybe any different kinds of components are there. And all these components are accessible by means of a particular routes or routes. Okay. Now let's go ahead. What exactly and how this is the image, right? And how we implicate or how we convert this image into a one application. So let's understand that thing. So React router. So first of all, you have to import, you have to install it, and then the React provider will be available to you. Just a minute, huh? So React provider, this particular link, this particular tag is available to you. Okay, and what this tag asking for? It says that, okay, I want to know who is the route provider. Okay, so we created one function. Router is nothing but our route provider. It tells the React application. Okay, so these are the registered routes are there. So whenever you're able to see any route which is uh, like this particular path, then you can go ahead with the related elements or related components. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to install React Router. After that, we have to use this route provider, and you have to import this thing from the React Router. And then what we need to do in this tag, we need to tell, okay, who is the router? Which function is responsible to tell us that this particular path is related. Whenever you are calling or accessing this particular path, it will gives you access to the particular element. Okay. Now you can write this particular router by means of a create browser router function. Okay. Now create browser router function, you can write this particular function in a two-way. This is the one and this is the second. Okay, so how we can do it? Either you can create an array and you just mention, okay, for the slash path layout element should be loaded, and inside the layout children's are there. So as we know that there is a outlet, okay, layout only contain header, outlet and footer, right? So this is our layout. So whenever we are doing something, okay, so whole page contain the same header and same footer, but the actual body of that particular page may changes. So these are the children's of a layout, okay, and which are nothing but our outlets. Outlet may be the home, maybe about, maybe contact. So we are providing some related path and component, related path and component, related path and component. So this is the one way to do it, okay, by using array. Otherwise, you need to create this you need to call this one function again, create routes from elements. Okay, so not any other function, it should be a create routes from elements. Okay, so it will provides you just this is the my parent, okay, route, and inside this parent route this many child routes I have. Okay, so in under the layout I have the home, about, contacts us. This is little bit concise and simplest way, so I normally used to prefer this particular thing. If you are comfortable with it, fine, because both having the same properties, you can see path and element, here also path and element, but rather than maintaining it in the form of array is little bit complex and lengthy for me, rather than just visiting this particular tags. So I more normally prefer this type of a thing. Okay. Now, it's not only the route will provide you only path and which element you have to load, as well as you can load the related APIs. Okay, you can preload that particular data of that API and then you can go ahead. Okay, as well as you can handle the error. So consider this particular page is not available, or we are unable to fetch particular API and it's giving us kind of errors. So that thing also we can mention under the route tag. That thing also we will check in further few slides. Now next, what we have? Error boundary. So this thing I am discussing, that consider you are getting this particular error. Okay, so how to deal with it? Okay, how we will handle the error boundaries. So there are the option for it, that you can go ahead with this particular routing technique, okay, to handle the error boundaries. So if you observe this type of a route, so there is a path, okay, there is a loader trying to load the particular API or data. Action, update the invoice element. Which element should be loaded? Invoice element should be loaded. And if error occurs, then we are calling a separate element, separate component, and which is nothing but the error boundaries. So what error boundaries contain? It contains the use route error, which lets us know what kind of error it is, and we are printing it, and we are just returning one kind of a markup here. Okay, so all these examples related to the error boundaries are available on the site of the, just a minute, yeah, React router. Okay, so this is the documentation for the React router. You can check, you can go ahead. Examples are there, tutorials are there. You can use the React in a different ways. Okay, picking the router, creating the browse router, and there are some components: hash router, memory router, native router, static routers. Okay, what are the different components we can use uh, for the routing purpose? Different hooks are there. So like use params are there. So this thing we will able to understand what exactly. But whatever your need. Okay, as per your requirement, you can go ahead with the related facilities of a React router. So let's check what we supposed to do first. Okay, so if you want to use the React router, what we need to do, we need one setup, right? First we need to create a new project, and then what we need to do, we need to install React router DOM. These things are necessary, not needed, local forge and all these things. So you just go ahead with this much, that npm install React router DOM, and then try to run it. Okay, so after that, what normally we do, we just add the router. Okay, how to add the router? As I mentioned you before also, we install the React router DOM. We have to import the React router and browse, create browse router. So React provider is nothing but our tag, which calls the router method where we are linking the paths and elements, right? So this tag, we for that tag we need to import React router provider, and next one is the that particular method. Okay, to create a router we need one method, and that method is nothing but the create browser router. So we have to import it from the React router DOM. Next, obviously we have to provide this React provider, and we have to tell, okay, so this is the router which is responsible for linking. So and later on we are going to create a one router, and we will call the create browser router, and then in that we are going to link the path and elements. Okay, now it's not only paths and elements attributes are there under a route. You can nest the element. Okay, for example, we have nested it here. Where is our slide? Yeah, here we nested it, right? So children, path, element, and then children's are there. We nested. Again, here also route and related child routes we have added over here. So as per your requirement, you can go ahead with the further options of a React route. So you have to find out, okay, which is the root route and what will be the path for the root route. It will be the slash, right? And there will be a root element. Now it depends. You can call it layout element, you can call it root element. That is your wish. Next, handling not found error. So maybe as I shown you that there are some errors may occur when you are executing the route. So how you are going to deal with it? So it says that you provide a way better UX than this when your application throws an error by providing the developer your own. So error element props on a route. So what you can use error element props in a route tag. So how we are going to do it? So use error route, sorry, use route error. So you can import it, and you can convert this particular component as a error, and then you can go ahead with the status, and also this component will get executed whenever you are linking that error component with the error element attribute. So already there is a attribute, then there is an element attribute, then there is an error element attribute. So you need to create one component which is responsible to display the related errors. And whenever error comes, this error element attribute get executed, and it will load this particular component. Okay, so here it is. The oops, sorry, some unexpected errors has occurred. So based on the errors like 404, you can create your own. Like here is the example. They have created 404 not found, error boundaries. So lots of codes are there and form and all these things are there. You just decide, or you can go through it. Okay. Now let's check what is there next. So next, already I have created one example, and which is so simple. Nested routes are there, and remaining things are fine. Client side routing, loading data. Yeah, this much. This particular one attribute is again useful. Okay, so loader, it means consider you are accessing data from particular API and it take times, right? So before you click or before you actually want the data, the loader will ready with your data, and whenever your router get executed, so there is a facility, right? So whenever you are moving the cursor over the particular word, so for example, wait a minute, let me clear this first and then we can go ahead here. So this is my already created example. Consider this is my API call, right? So before clicking on the API call, what I'm doing, I'm overing the cursor on that particular button on that particular link, right? So at that time, what happens? The loader loads all data which is required for this particular component. Okay, so when I'm clicking on it, so already I have just linked one joke API with this particular page. Okay, now in this example, if I want to see, this is my header. Okay, this is my header, this is my footer, and this is my outlet. Okay, so when I'm clicking on an API call, it will open the related component, okay, of API call. So when I'm clicking on another component, home, about, contact, and all these things, so center page, center component is loading, not the whole page. Okay, so it's maintaining the footer as it is. Okay, so to achieve it, one thing we should know is nothing but a link. Okay, so already I have created one application, React Router Demo. In this application, under the SRC, under the components, I have created some few components like about, contact, footer, header, home, user, API call. Okay, so all these uh, pages are a simple pages, they doesn't have anything. Okay, so about us is nothing but a about us page. Okay, about dot. So basically we have about dot jsx, then there is a contact. Contact contain all the HTML and CSS tags. Okay, next footer. Footer is again the same HTML tags and the CSS is available. Now, the main component which we need to deal is nothing but our layout component. Okay, so as we discussed that header and footer should be maintained, and the part which is there in between headers and footer, which is nothing but our body actual content. Okay, and that is nothing but we are reflecting in the form of an outlet. So outlet is nothing but a component which is belongs to the React route. So whenever you are trying to put it here, and you need to import it from the React route. Now it's not needed that you have to create a separate layout.jsx. You can maintain it in a root. You can maintain the same file in app.jsx, same code in app.jsx, your wish. Okay. Now the main part of layout is nothing but a header and footer. Okay, now header obviously contains all the linking, right? Header contains this the menu over there. Okay, home, about us, contact us, and user and whatever. Okay, so now how we normally use to link one component to another component is by means of a link tag or by means of a nav link tag. Okay, now as you already know that React applications are a single page applications. It contains the component, and whenever clicking on it, it will automatically load that particular component rather than reloading the whole page, right? So that's why instead of an anchor tag reload the whole page and redirect to the new page. So instead of using anchor tag, we are using link. Now you will ask me why there are the two tags. Okay, link is for the same thing. Why there is a nav link? Nav link provides us some extra features. Okay, some extra properties are related with the nav link. Like okay, this particular tab. And this particular link is active or not. This is the one example. Okay, so this particular attribute which is already available with this tag. Fine. So this is the advantage of a nav link over the link. So mostly we added okay about nav link. Okay, when we clicking on the contact, it should go to the path slash when we are clicking on the this particular contact, go to the slash contact. So where we are maintaining this slash contact, okay, where we need to go. I don't know where is this path. So this path we maintain here in our route. So it says that when we say contact slash and contact, then it should render the contact component. So the whole application we will create again. Don't worry, I'm just giving you the overview of this application. Okay. So where we are in a header, right? So again, when we are clicking on the API call where we are going to redirect, we should redirect to the element which is related to the path slash API call. So where is the slash API call is available? So slash API call linking is available in a main.jsx. Okay. So in a main.jsx, what is there? For the API call, we are loading the particular API and then we are rendering the API call. How the element get loaded, how we are going to pass the particular attribute. So user slash user ID, how we will send it, how we will search based on a particular user ID. This thing we will understand when we are doing the actual example. So let's start with the example. Let's create our new application. So let's create a new application as per the guidelines given in the React Router documentation. So let's go ahead with the create. Where is the documentation? Okay, so here it is. So what we need to do, first of all, it says that, okay, create your own Vite project. Let's create our project. It will take a minute. The project name will be the demo router. Then it will be a React application, JavaScript application. Let's go ahead with the demo router and let's install all packages. It will take a minute and then we will try to execute the application. Next, until it gets loaded, next what we need to do, we need to just install the React router DOM and the remaining thing is not needed. So okay, fine. Now npm run dev. Let's check whether the application is running or not. We'll just try to check it. Yeah, here it is. It's working. Now what we need to do as per the React documentation, we need to install React Router DOM. Okay. So let's go ahead. It's not needed, but I just want to show you from initial cd demo router, and here we are installing React Router DOM. Fine. So In this application, in a SRC, we have a admin and all these things. Here, what we need to do, we need to create one folder, components. Just a minute. Inside components, we'll create one new folder, home, and one more folder, about. Okay. So like this, we will create about .jsx. Then in a home, there will be a new file, home.jsx. Then we'll create header, footer. So header, and inside the header, we will create header.jsx. Then inside the component, one more footer. Inside the footer, one more file, footer.jsx. Okay. So, okay, fine. One more we need, that is nothing but a contact, and inside it, contact.jsx. Okay. So already I have a built-in code for all these files. Okay. But one more file we want to create, and that is nothing but a layout, right? So LAY. So layout, if you don't want to create it, fine, that is perfectly okay. You can write whatever is there inside the layout, you can write it in a app.jsx also. Now, if you are creating any root or layout thing, if you want that, I don't know, I am not needing, I don't want this particular app.jsx, then you can delete it. Okay. So all the JSX files are open. Okay. And they all are empty. So let's create a component, export default function layout. Layout will contain one return. Return contains some tags. So let's create a fragment. Okay. So it should contain header, footer, and outlet, right? So for that, we need to create all the headers, footers, and all the files. So let me create it, and then we can go ahead. Because already I have this, I will just copy paste it. Oh, here are some files, okay, header, footer. So I'll just copy paste. So this is the header. Okay. So let's copy the header and put all related code inside the header. Now you're able to see there will be a problem, right? It says that link is not defined because we need to import. Okay. So as we already aware about link tag, okay, import link, and again you will see that there is an issue with the nav link also. So nav link. So where we will export these links and nav links. Do you remember the so links and nav links from React router DOM. So control S. So when we import all these things, you can see there will be a no error. Okay. So here only one home is there. Okay. And remaining thing we have to add. Okay. And as well as we need to put the ID, or we need to put the to where they should be redirected on. So let me copy paste all the things like I have done it for the home. I will just do it for the about us and contact us headers and footers. So it will not get any you will not get any difficulties for the same. Okay. So I have copy pasted the code. okay, for the footer, but you will see there are lots of errors are there. It says that unknown property field rule, and now in a React, it's by means of a the field rule will be replaced by the this hyphen is not allowed, and there will be r cap. So we need to change it. So we know that there are some tags in a JSX. It's different rather than the normal HTML and CSS, right? So for that identification, they created their own attributes and they just made this small kind of a changes to it. Okay. Again, here also we need to put import the links and nav links and all these things. So let me create that. Let me import it first. Import link, comma, nav link from React Router DOM. Okay, nav link is not there, so it's saying that you haven't used it. So let me delete it. So remaining things are the attribute related issues like okay, it should be a field R capital rule and clip R capital rule. So these are the related says it's nothing with the React routers. Okay, so this is the problematic thing. So whenever you are writing something in a JSX, they have their own attribute names and which you have to follow. Now our header and footer is ready. Okay. Now after that, what we want about us or contact us and everything. Okay. But when we try to execute this application, there will be no date, no output of it. Okay. Because we added the router and when until we are not configuring that particular router, it says that, okay, fine. I know that the application is up, but we are not getting the router and we don't know which file should be get displayed over here. So let's check how we can do it. So we know that in our layout, we added this header. Okay, header component slash close. Then there is a footer component. Then there is a slash close. And then there will be a outlet slash outlet slash close. Now outlet says that okay, there is no this particular component is available. So how we will import it? We will import. We will say is that I just want the outlet component from React Router DOM and please make it available for me. So it says that okay, what is there in between the header and footer that will be outletted, that will be accessible. Okay, so this outlet may be the about us, it may be the contact us, it may be anything you want. Okay, so already the home is there. Now what we want to do, we want to just create the route. Okay, so we are going to create the router here. What we need, as we already aware about that, it should gives us this particular router provider tag. Okay, so router provider tag, remove the app, we are not using this. So router provider, it's not. So router provider, it says that okay, fine, router provider only want one thing, and that is nothing but a who is the route. Okay, who is going to responsible to link the route. Okay, so here is the router. Okay, so this thing we need to create router and we are calling one function route. Okay, now router provider, what it says, it's not defined. Why? Because we haven't imported it. Import router provider from React Router. No. Now it says that, okay, fine. Now router provider is available. I'm just assigning one attribute to the one value to the router attribute. And where is this router? So we don't have it, right? So how we will do it? We will just create this const router. Now there is a one method which is responsible to create a router. So here it is. Can you see this? Create routers, create browser router, create browser router. In a two both the ways we are using this. Create browser router. Okay. It may contain array, it may contain the another function, that is your wish. So we have seen that there are two options. Okay, you can go ahead with the array and with the paths and elements, and then there are children's, and you can go ahead with this tag based thing. Now your wish, whatever you want to follow. I'll just go ahead with the both of them. So I have just copy pasted the code from my existing because it will take time. So create browser router, you can create the routes from the element, you can go ahead with the path and all these things. So this much is nothing but a route. Okay. Now if you want to call the API, then what we need to do? We need to call an particular loader, okay, from the our existing created API call. So already I have created an API call, and in an API call, normally we call a API like this, like fetch, then and then we set it to the state variable. But if you want to call particular API by means of a router, then what we need one function. Now here is one warning it giving us is nothing but a fast fresh refresh only works when a file only exports the component. So there are different ways or different standards. Okay, you can write this particular loading method in a separate file, or for my convenience I have written it here itself in a API call .jsx. So this particular loader method is just loading this particular API and await and store that particular response in a response and convert it into the JSON. Now this particular method get called where? Here. Okay. When we are calling particular path API.call, at that time loader is nothing but our loading method get called, and the element nothing but the API call. Now you will ask me, fine, this get called, but who is responsible? This will gives us a data, right? It's giving us a response dot data. Now that data should be displayed in a API call dot JSX here, right? In this particular div data dot setup. I am not getting the data. Okay, because your calling method there, this method is giving the response or result to the main.jsx. Then how I will get it? So you have one more hook here. Okay, use loader data, which is responsible to fetch the loader data, right? So use loader data is responsible to fetch the data and put it back to the variable. So this particular hook is storing the data in a data variable, and then we are using it. So hope so. And one more thing, like if you want to pass the user ID or a particular value, okay, through the URL, then how you will do it? So you can go ahead uh, with the here is I have created one user.jsx. So in that user.jsx, if I want to access any parameter from the URL, then I am using this use params. Okay, so this will returns you the array of a object, and from that array of object you can access the value you want to uh, fetch, okay, from the URL. Okay, so now let's run this. Just a minute. I'm in another folder. Let me change it back to the React Router demo. npm run div, and it get executed. So due to the time limit, we are unable to execute the whole example, but still you want it, we can go ahead. So here it is, okay, home about us, contact us, and API call. Okay, so when I click on the API call, so automatically the API get called. Okay, now I want to show you one thing, that consider I have entered user slash 10. So I want to access the 10. Okay, so here it is. So by how we access this 10? By means of a use params. Okay, so if you want to access any parameter, so I have given this user and user ID. I want to access, if I want to access this user ID, how I will access it? You will access it by means of a use param. So use params is responsible to give you that particular array of object. Okay, so I hope that everything is clear to you. And if you have any questions, you can ask me in a question answer session. And if you want more example, more uses of a routers, okay, different scenario based, okay, error element, what is action, what is route, what is hydrate fallback element, what is lazy, what is loader. So if you want to find out what exactly these things are, so you can go ahead with this particular documentation. So I hope that the React router is clear to you. Now next we will understand about the React query. React query, again, we are trying to fetch the APIs and all these things. We are writing, we handling the errors, and huge number of block codes are there to define that particular loading and error. So reduce that particular thing, we have a separate API and third party library, which is nothing but a React query. So let's understand that thing.